Welcome to Intuitive Flow. I'm your host, Mikaela Filar, intuitive energetic healer, medium, entrepreneur, and mindset mentor with a mission to help you step into your fullest potential by giving you the tools to rid yourself of limiting beliefs, love yourself unconditionally, and create the reality that you dream of living. It is time to transform your mindset, get unstuck, and step into the highest frequency version of yourself who has unshakable confidence. I am even answering your juiciest questions regarding all things intuition, manifestation, personal development, self-love, self-image, and helping you work through your dilemmas, intuitively guiding you to expand your mindset and level up in life. So turn up the volume and get excited for this intuitive flow. Hey guys, what's up? And welcome back to Intuitive Flow with Mikaela Filar. I'm so excited about today's episode because we have a very special guest on, Tamra, and she is a period and embodiment coach. You guys, I have been telling you that I was going to have her on for quite some time now. I feel like we have been talking about this, or we've had this on the books for like over a month. So I am thrilled. The anticipation has been building, especially with just like everything going on. I told my following that I am definitely like in my like cycle syncing era, and I've did a little research of my own on you and your website, and I know that like you're like, all cycle syncing is such a hot topic. So
Yeah.
I'm so excited to dive into today's episode and ask you all the questions, but also like leaving some room for intuitive flow in there. But Tamara is a mentor for the high achieving woman ready to enter her have it all era with the glow method, which I'm sure she will get all into exactly what that is. But Tamara, I'm so excited to have you on. Welcome to Intuitive Flow. Why don't you go ahead and start off by like sharing a little bit about yourself?
Okay, amazing. First off, I am so excited for this chat. It has been a long time coming. I feel like we planned this maybe even like at the start of the year, but I was just in a season of like complete, like you were talking about on my podcast, complete stripping down, just unbecoming. And I feel like this is just the perfect time to have this conversation. And I'm very, very honored to be on this podcast. But a little bit about me and how I got into this work and where I am today. It really started, as all of our journeys mainly do, in kind of like childhood, more high school for me. I started off as a swimmer, a competitive swimmer, and I had and always had the dream to make it into my sport. I had dreamt to go to the Olympics, to represent my country, and to just like have that experience. Now, with that dream, it led to a lot of, and like being in that sport had led to a lot of like toxic like masculinity, hustling, but with not the healthy aspect that we are shedding light on now. And it just led to the core belief of me not being enough, because I needed to make it in order to become, in order to believe that I was enough. So at my core, I didn't feel enough. And then it led to the domino effect of, okay, my grades aren't good enough. How I'm presenting myself isn't good enough. I am not good enough with the way that I speak to my friends, or my stories aren't good enough, or my experiences aren't good enough, and I just really second guess myself. I was playing myself down. I was playing small. I was just really feeling this like shrinking kind of image within myself in order to feel like I was enough, but then in order to chameleon myself so that I could be good enough for everyone around me, as a daughter, as a sister, as a whoever I needed to be for that person. And I just really came to the point where I didn't know myself, because I was a chronic people pleaser. I was just happy-go-lucky, but on the outside, you wouldn't really know that. I was very outwardly confident and outgoing and happy to make everyone laugh, and just so ready to include everyone, because I wasn't that for myself and I didn't feel that for myself. So that in it of itself like really started the journey for me. So then when I finished high school, I was still swimming, and I started university. And then when I started getting into jobs and everything like that, I'd been working since I was 16, but like more into the field of my career, I realized that I just couldn't keep holding it together. Like it wasn't, everything was felt like it was crumbling around me. And so I
Yeah.
decided to kind of leave swimming and go into triathlon. So I left one sport to go into 3 different sports. That makes
Wow.
logical sense, right? But for me, it was more so because I could kind of create my own schedule with training. I still had the
Mm.
belief and still had the grit about me to really make it in my sport because, again, I didn't feel like I was enough. And so we all
Mm-hmm.
kind of know how that kind of goes. It's not going to be enough if you are not enough without it. And so
Mm-hmm.
I kept going into it, kept training, was doing uni, was doing all of the things. Now, when I kind of had this idea in university, I was studying business degree, but with majoring in sports management. And I came up with the idea to bring fitness and wellness into high schools to really bridge the gap between, like, there wasn't like a lot of like wellness and fitness aspect. It was just like fitness. And I really wanted to bridge the gap to bring the mindset and the wellness aspect into it. Kind of like what I needed. Essentially, I really wanted to
Yeah.
bring that into schools. So I started training to be a personal trainer. And when I had qualified, it was 2020, March of 2020. And we all know what happened during that point. It was COVID. And so I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And so instead of going into schools, I started bringing my personal training online. And that's kind of how the business started and evolved. Now, when I started training fitness clients in the wellness aspect as well, I was having my own period problems. I was 19, and up until that point, I really had the perfect period. I know I'm going in a bit of a convoluted way, but it really ties everything together. The not enough, the healthy, like the unhealthy hustling, the needing to do and needing to get ahead through a toxic, not a toxic, a wounded masculine way in order to feel like I was enough. That's the area I was going about it. That led me to so many other physical manifestations that were coming through in my period, but also through in my thyroid, which I'll get into in a
Mm.
second. I remember getting on a train to go to my internship, and I was just feeling really faint, like really lightheaded, just quite pale. And just, I remember getting the most intense cramps of my life. I was like, what the fuck is going on with me right now? I remember I was on the seat. I was like, kind of like, I was on the aisle near the door, and I was just crouching over. And I thought, I kind of think I need to stop. Like, is there a bathroom? Like, what am I going to do? I ended up like just pushing through, getting to work, rushing to the bathroom, throwing up. And then I
Mm.
look down, kind of like go to the toilet, and I realize I'm like, oh, I got my period. That's my period had come. Consecutively after that, I was throwing up on my period. And I was like, something's got to give, like something's not right. This really isn't normal. I have had the perfect period up until this point, like
Mm.
no cramping, 3-day bleed. I was fine. Like it came regularly. It was all good. And then
Mm-hmm.
all of a sudden it just went to shit. So I went to a gynecologist, did all of the tests and scans, did the ultrasounds, and everything was fine. And
Of
I'm like,
course.
everything is not fine. It's not fine. I shouldn't be
Yes.
feeling like this.
And
And
this is
so,
why I wanted, this is why I have, sorry to interrupt you, but like, this is why
no,
I wanted you on the podcast because I was like, you are bridging the, like, you're bringing the energetics side
yes.
to it as well, which is something that so many people miss. Everything has an energetic root cause, which I'm sure you're going to get into
Mm-hmm.
exactly like
Yeah.
what each symptom is, the energetic root cause for it
Yeah.
is. But I'm so obsessed with this story. So keep going.
Thank you so much. But it's true, like everything does have an energetic root cause. And so when the gynecologist started speaking about the next steps, it was either take a Panadol, which I'm sorry, is paracetamol every single month, or go on the pill. Those were
Ah,
my two options. And I'm like, okay. Even at that point, I'm like, this is just a Band-Aid. This is just popping a Band-Aid on. This is not healing me. This is not the answer that I was looking for. And so I really started researching, going down every path that I could. And what really led to the motivation to learn more was my clients were also having shitty period symptoms that
Of
I
course.
didn't know how to help them. And I really wanted to, because it everything blends together. The fitness, working out, how you eat, and how you go about life all syncs in with your cycle. And we're fighting against our own biology. But when we start syncing within our own way and in a way that helps our own cycle, that's how we bring proper alignment into ourselves. And shit just becomes easy. You don't have to
Yes.
fight, you don't have to force. And so that's pretty much what led me into the work now. Now, when I was still training as a triathlete, I kept getting reoccurring shin splints, which is just aching like pain in your shin that just does not go away. And especially like as you're running, it just was that force that kept jolting through. So I was referred to a sports doctor, and thank God for this sports doctor, because I don't trust a lot of kind of like Western medicine people if they don't have a holistic perspective, because I'm like, you just don't get it. Like, you
Yeah.
just don't.
Yeah.
So he was like, okay, I'm going to get you to run some blood tests and we're going to go from there. And I'm like, blood tests? Like, what do you mean blood tests? Just for my shin splints. Anyway, he's like, just trust the process. Okay. I did. Got the results, came back, and he goes, you have Hashimoto's, which is a thyroid condition. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, okay, what does that mean? And I have kind of been going, like, I'd heard about some thyroid conditions, and normally people have to go on like reverse T3, T4 medication just to kind of like the synthetic thyroid hormones to help bring balance. And I'm like, oh, I just didn't like the thought of that. But for him, it was more of a lifestyle and a diet change. So I got off gluten, I got off dairy, and then that was the catalyst to proper holistic healing. And when I tell you, like, when I went down the rabbit hole of thyroid research, period research, I came across this one person who I was like, okay, she knows her shit. I'm like, I need to learn off of her. I need to learn everything that she is teaching and everything that there is to do with period problems and symptoms and thyroid and everything that there is to be a woman. And she had a certification which had just started. It was an 18-month long certification. It had practical components to it. It was just everything. And I'm like, okay, sign me up. Like, I need to be in this. And it wasn't just about fertility, fertility foods, period, like just hormone healing and hormone syncing. It was energetic healing. It was somatic healing. It was trauma healing. It was NLP. It was everything that we needed and everything that I needed growing up. Because now looking back, and I led first. I went through the somatic healing. I went through all the trauma healing. I confronted my anger, which I didn't think I had. I confronted my shame, which I had a lot of, which led to the people pleasing. Like, there was just so much. The thyroid problems was because I could not speak my truth, was because I was a
Yes.
chronic people pleaser. Like, that was the energetic root. Healing that is the key to healing everything else. And I'm a big believer. I'm still healing my thyroid, but it is just from where I was years ago to where I am now. It's a complete 180. Like, it's a complete 360. And I am in the complete, like, there would be people that I have asked, like, can you heal like Hashimoto's? Because it's like you have to live with it forever. And there was this one person who said to me, no, you can heal anything, because your body regenerates itself. Your body knows how to heal and your body knows what to do. So you just need to come back and come home to yourself, because like Mikaela is all about teaching, you have the intuitive power and you already have the intuitive next step. It's just about taking the first step. And for me, like, I know that was a all around and scenic route of a journey, but that is what led me to here and what I do now.
So good. So incredible. I love that. It's not an easy thing to
Mm.
learn how to take that radical responsibility for yourself and for your life. And it seems like instead of like you completely trusted your intuition to say, no, absolutely not. Like, this is just a band-aid. I'm not just going to have to take a pill for the rest of my life and call
Yeah.
it that. And the fact that you're holistic, like, you are so on your soul pull because like your story and the way that everything just so perfectly aligned and happened and how you got into this work, it's just like you're so on it, and I love that for you. And you spoke a little bit about how I love that you mentioned, like, I started to speak my truth. I started to work through a lot of the anger that I had been holding on to that I didn't think that I had. Okay, so this is a common theme in my clients that I'm finding. Like, they just think that they're not angry, but like the reality of the situation is like, so I intuitively test percentages of like how much anger you have inside of you, and like mostly all of them that I've done lately are like a 98%.
Oh, yeah. That
I'm
does
like,
not surprise me.
we've any we think that it's like got to be this crazy thing that we do to start releasing some of that, and it's like, no dude, the emotion just lives in your body. Like, scream in a pillow, go
Yeah.
for a drive, turn on some heavy metal and rock the fuck out and scream while you're scream
Yes.
while you're in it, you know what I'm saying? But like, what did that look like for you? Like, the releasing the fear, what did that look like for you? Or not the
Okay.
fear, yeah, the
Yeah.
anger, I'm sorry, not the
Yeah.
fear.
But even the fear of showing my anger and seeing my anger was a huge thing. So I got the opportunity to go to New York for an in-person immersion to really just somatically heal and really like come home to myself. And one of the practices was anger release, like one of the modalities that we were taking through. Like, it was a retreat, but it's like a fucking retreat, you know? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
and one of the practices was anger release. And so my mentor took us through, there was like a whole room, like, imagine a room full of women. We are all laying down on the floor going through intense breath work. And while we're at the peak of breath work, she explained this to us before. We got up and we got to, there were couches set up so we can go through the anger release. And you've got women cheering you on and just like letting you like unleash everything. For me, the anger release was the one thing that I was so scared of. I'm like, I don't want to show that side of me. Like, into like that fear, my ego was so scared of releasing that because I
Mm,
had the identity of, I'm not an angry person. I need to be the cool, calm and collected, cool chick, like the cool girl, like that. And so when we went through the breath work and she was like, when you're ready, come up and like go to the anger release. I was the first one because I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. Like, let's go to town. After that, the wave of relief was just insane. It was
mhm,
just wild. The peace that I felt afterwards was just so beautiful because there was just obviously a visceral releasing and
mhm.
like an intense holding on to that I felt like I needed to protect my identity that I had just shed. So it was such a beautiful experience, and to obviously do it and be in it with other women who were seeing their own anger and us all celebrating ourselves was just so beautiful, to be in it with the other women as well and to see ourselves and hold ourselves in that anger. It just was the permission slip that I needed to just fully let go and be seen. And now if I feel anger rising through, I don't make it mean anything about myself. I just go into the room or go outside or do whatever I need to do or go in the car and just
Yeah,
unleash, and like that's it. And it's just so beautiful to be able to hold myself in that.
yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. That's such a let that be your permission slip, you guys. If you've got some
Mhm.
anger, like release that shit. It's
Yeah.
actually fun. It feels so good. I always lose my voice when I scream the way that I need to scream.
Yeah.
Um, but I also really admire that you were speaking on just the shame of feeling your emotions, right? Like I
Mhm.
feel like as women, we suppress our emotions in fear of being quote unquote too much.
Mhm.
Do you feel that that was something that you had to work through? And if so, what are the physical and energetic steps that you took specifically for yourself to
Mm.
let that go?
I probably have always felt like the not enough wound was so much
Mm,
bigger for me. But then in saying that, I was not enough because I didn't want to be too much. So it was that kind of juxtaposition that was kind of like clashing against each other. That it was just, I couldn't be myself. I couldn't identify with being Tamra and who that even was for me. And so for me, the biggest steps that I really took was just seeing myself in my shame and just allowing myself to just sit, be with it, and be still with it. And taking the emotional charge out of it. So then it didn't mean anything in the sense of I wasn't making it bad. And so I
mhm,
understood as well where it was coming from because there was a lot of like, I come from an Italian Catholic family. We know like the kind of like, we can kind of tell like what's that leading to. Really can't be sensual, really can't own your sexuality, no sex before marriage. That was very heavily ingrained into me, especially from like my mum's side of the family. Like I really felt that I really needed to unleash that because I have always just very much been connected to my feminine energy and my feminine embodiment and like my dark feminine and my sultry feminine, but I just didn't allow myself the permission to allow that to be seen. And so a lot of it
mm,
was the anger towards it. Like it's very much convoluted and all interconnected with all the modalities that I was taking myself through the inner child healing, the sitting with the shame, releasing it, and not really completely understanding like where it's coming from, but the fact that I was releasing it anyway. And just then, because I had stripped everything away, I could now rebuild from a very authentic place because I had set up a foundation that was mine, that wasn't built
mhm,
upon anyone else or stemmed from anyone else or societal programming or any other programming. It started to really be mine. So when I came back from New York, I really noticed a shift in how I was dressing and how I was putting myself together. And I have noticed like I would wear like lower cut tops and everything like that and be really confident in it and not make it mean because I noticed a few people kind of like not being able to, and not men, women, not being able to look me probably in the eyes when they were talking to me and kind of like not make it mean anything about me, just standing strong in that. Even if past me thought, oh my God, I shouldn't be wearing this, like this is too much or anything like that. But standing strong in that, those were the steps that allowed me to stand strong in my truth and really build along that because I was collecting the receipts that showed me I am enough as I am. Even if it's too much for someone else, it's enough for me in who I am.
mm. I love that. Yeah, that's huge. That's massive right there. That's a good little nugget for you guys to remember. Um, we're talking about feminine embodiment, okay?
Mhm.
So what does that mean to you? Like what is for somebody who like has no clue about what that even means? Like what would you say to them?
Yeah. Feminine embodiment has really become a buzzword, hasn't it?
It
So
has.
yeah, feminine, I want to break it down in two ways. Feminine is just the energy and the essence of who you are, whatever that looks like. There are so many feminine flavors and feminine archetypes. It's about blending all of those sides of you together and unleashing all of them wherever you feel like you want to. So, for example, like maybe you're in your follicular phase. So, that's just after you've come out of your period and heading into ovulation. You are feeling more outgoing, you're feeling more sensual, you're feeling more sultry and more quote unquote, like for a lack of a better word, and just to like kind of box it in or label it, dark feminine, right? But there are so many
Mm.
different aspects to the dark feminine, right? And so many different aspects to a girly feminine or a flowy feminine. So it's just about like unleashing those sides of you and kind of finding anchors that help you fit in with that. So it might be a certain top that helps you to identify with the dark feminine if you're just starting out, or gold hoop earrings, or a certain lipstick, or how you put your hair. And it just helps you to anchor in and to really solidify and live out that side of you and that feminine essence. And it helps you to just unleash more sides of you so you can feel like you're having it all and you're being it all and you're not boxed in and feel like you just need to be this one thing. Because the feminine is so wildly chaotic. Like, she is beautiful in all of her emotions. She's amazing in what she can hold and what she can bring out into the world, the power that she has. So that's the feminine in a nutshell. The embodiment
Yes.
piece is living it out. That's all embodiment means, is just living it out, how you're being in it and how you're really showing up in it. So yeah, without going too far down the rabbit hole or like complicating it, that's it, simplified. Like, that's all it needs to be.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's amazing. And I love how you connected like the type of feminine with the phase of your
Mm.
cycle. You have to go into that. Like, we have to go into that. Okay. So, I mean, it blows my mind, but there are women in the world who do not know the phases of our cycle.
Mhm.
And your girl was put on birth control at the age of 14 because she had
God.
acne and an irregular cycle. Instead of getting to the root cause, we slapped a shiny band-aid on it. I was on birth control until 2021.
Oh my
So that's like
goodness.
15 years or some bullshit.
Wow.
Okay. So yeah, I would love to talk about my problems. But before we do that, let's be real.
This is a podcast. This is a selfish podcast. No, I love
Yeah.
it. I love it so much.
No, I
If
really
it
want my
aren't all
audience.
podcasts, like you coming on, I'm like, we need a part two on my podcast, because I'm like, I need to hear all about Mikaela, like what the soul contracts, like increasing the soul. I'm like, I'm so invested in that journey. I'm not even kidding.
I love. Yeah, no, same. Because yeah, no, I saw your profile and I was like, I need to have her on the podcast, like selfishly, and because I
Yeah.
know this is gonna help so many people. And I told
Yeah.
my audience that I'm in my like, you know, really diving into my cycle and like lit like syncing up my like workouts and like
Yes.
what I'm eating to the different phase of my cycle. I'm still in the very, 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 very beginning stages of learning all about this. But like, I do know that there are 4 phases to the cycle. Um, and that's about it. So, well, I know what each one means, but like, I would
Yeah.
love for you to go into the phases, what they mean, but
Yeah.
also can like just how you did with follicular, like
Mm.
also like how it
Yeah.
correlates to the
Next.
feminine embodiment. Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Oh my God, I'm so
Love that.
excited. I have to, yeah, I'm so excited for this question. Thank you for asking. And when I had first learned about it, I was like, I feel like we've been lied to. Like, I got so angry because I'm like, why isn't this taught to us in school? It should
Yeah,
be
I'm
taught.
just as
It's
angry.
100%. And I was just like, it became like my personal mission where I'm like, I need to learn all there is to know about it. And I just got so entrapped in it. So I'm going to start off with the 4 phases and then go knee deep into it. So the first phase of our cycle, to overarching, we have 2 phases, follicular and luteal phase. Within that, then it becomes the 4 phases. So it is day 1 to kind of day 5 would be our period, our menstruation, which is when we bleed. That is really when everything is kind of low. And so from that, energetically tying it into our feminine and tying it into our feminine embodiment, we really want to nestle back into our cocoon. This is a time for reflection. This is a time to really go inwards and to be and just reconnect with ourselves. It is also a very amazing time to harness our intuition, because our intuition is heightened during this time as well.
Ooh.
Yeah, very interesting. Then we head into our follicular phase. And so this is right after your period has finished. And this is where things start to just come out of its shell. This is our spring phase. We've just come out of winter, which is our period. And estrogen is rising, which is a huge and incredibly important hormone that brings out our confidence, brings out our vitality a little bit more, as also with testosterone. It just brings up so much more of that outward energy that helps us to present, helps us to take risks, helps us to be bold, helps us to feel more like ourselves, quote unquote, or a different side of ourselves, the side of ourselves that feels like we want to be social, we want to be out, we want to be doing things, we're much more energetic. Our estrogen and testosterone on a physical standpoint really help with that. And so everything is starting to rise. Then we enter into ovulation. So this is our summer. This is our peak. This is where our egg, on a physical term, has shifted and has been brought out. So this is like the best time, if you do want to fall pregnant, to get pregnant and to have sex and to do all of those things. That's why really we're going to be feeling sexy. We're going to be feeling really sultry and really just sensual. And so that's when we connect that summer phase to our dark feminine or to our sexual feminine archetype and really play to that advantage. It's also an amazing way to connect to your feminine magnetism, because you are so heightened in that energy and already ready to expand. Like, you are expanded. You can walk into a room and your aura is huge. Your aura is gorgeous, and people can really feel that presence when you really tap into it. And then we lean into our luteal phase. So this is right after ovulation has happened, and this is where, if you aren't pregnant, the egg starts to fall off and to shed and enters into our uterus lining, and then as we're bleeding out, that's our uterine lining shedding itself. So if we have a thicker uterine lining, or if we are feeling like more inflamed, that's going to lead to the heavier periods. That's going to lead to feeling bloated or feeling just really crappy, because you have so much there to shed. With that being said, you can go through, like, I remember going through quite an intense emotional release and feeling quite a huge shed after my period in the next time, because I was releasing so much. So you can also use it as a kind of magnifying force to just shed out and release what no longer serves you during your period phase. Your luteal phase, though, is a beautiful time, and it's probably the most misunderstood phase of our cycle, because it's the week before our period. Like, we're PMSing, we're mood swinging, we're feeling like shit, we're craving the chocolate, we're bloated, we are not feeling good.
I hate this cycle. I hate that part of my cycle, my luteal phase. Bryson is so funny. He goes, "Are you loodling?"
Don't we love a man, though, that connects and can understand and can really read us, though? I love that.
I've been teaching him. I'm like, no, look, I'm in my luteal phase and you need to be nice to me and you need to just deal with my attitude. And he's like, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Can do. And that's what men need though. Like men
They
need
do.
just education and directness. They need
Yeah.
directness. They need, I need this during this time. Okay. A healthy
Yeah.
masculine man will provide that for you. He will do whatever it takes to make you happy.
I'm
Yeah.
snapping right now. Yes. Preach. Preach.
And it is so, yeah, 100%. So our luteal phase is probably misunderstood. And I used to really hate it. Now I'm really harnessing and channeling into that energy because it is honestly so beautiful once you have really healed your hormones and healed your cycles. So, really, in a perfect period or in a healthy period, what this really does and what this phase is really for is when you aren't pregnant, the corpus luteum, which is what the egg turns into, is shedding and dying off and then turns into our bleed, right? Progesterone is what helps to create that, to help that happen. Progesterone, which is the hormone that's in charge of our luteal phase, is what, if we are pregnant or if we're trying to get pregnant or want to in the future, that is what helps us to hold the pregnancy, especially in the first trimester. It is so incredibly important for us to have a healthy amount of progesterone so we can
Okay.
actually obviously bring the baby up and like to grow the egg, but also to hold the egg in a really healthy way. So if we don't have enough of it, unfortunately, that is what can, not in all cases, but can lead to a miscarriage. And so it's just important. I feel like it's a really important education point to just understand what that phase of our cycle is really about and is what really for. On an energetic standpoint, this is our autumn. This is when we are really starting to shed a little bit more, but progesterone in its true form is to counteract the rise in estrogen. So in our luteal phase, if you're watching the video, maybe you can see that my little graph that I'm doing with my hands. But in our second half of our cycle and our luteal phase, this is when estrogen really drops to help with the rise of progesterone. So if we don't have enough of progesterone, that's what can lead to the PMS, the bloating, the shitty period symptoms that are quote unquote normal, but have just become common. And as well as that, if we have too much estrogen and quote unquote the normal amount of progesterone, you can still feel those effects. So it's really important to have a good balance of both because they have incredibly important roles for our cycle, for our physical phase, but also our energetic phase as well. And progesterone is what helps us to feel cool, calm, collected. We feel like we're just mellowing out. We feel like we're just being more in touch with ourselves. This is also a great time to channel into maybe more your girly phase and your flowy phase and to channel into more, I guess, the analytical mind. So for me my last period, like in my last luteal phase, I loved getting into Notion. I loved getting into all the organization hacks, like getting into the systems, like getting into kind of like more, I don't want to say like masculine side, but like my feminine organization side. I also lent into my homebody phase. I lent into more baking. I lent into more like kind of embodying like the wife like embodiment, like the wife archetype.
Yeah.
And I was really channeling that through. I was loving it. And I was loving like really channeling into like being a mother. Like, like we have I think it's like the what like the trend kind of is called like the feminine urge to whatever it is, like to be
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
boss, like to be the career woman, but also
Yeah.
to have a house on the farm and to raise chickens and to like collect the eggs daily and like to bake and do all of that. That's a real
Yeah.
thing. Like that's what is allowing like the fact that women go through 4 phases, go through the seasons and are able to channel through so many different energies and so many different sides of ourselves is quite amazing. So it is our responsibility and our advantage to harness all of those phases of our cycle to use it to the best of our ability, because you know what? Men do not have that opportunity. They have a 24-hour cycle and they reset. Like that's it. That's kind of
Mhm.
boring. I love being a woman now because I get to harness all of that. But that being said, like, I love that a man like can just reset, because my man, he's a carpenter. He works so physically hard. So he's a little bit tired at night, but then he's reset and ready to go in the morning. And I'm like, I love
Yeah.
that for you.
I don't know how they do it because
I
I
know.
literally could not. My Bryson is also in well, he's in roofing, so same.
Oh, yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's tough. That I know that
Yeah.
when Brad has a an intense day, especially on the roof, like he is, in Australian terms, I don't know if you guys have heard, knackered, like so tired. He is just
Knackered.
knackered. Yeah. I remember I visited, I went to New York. The last time I went to New York, I was catching up with a friend and she's from Canada. And I can't remember what I said, but she's like, what does that mean? And I'm like, the
Ah.
roller door, like the garage door, the roller door. I think, yeah, that's what it was. So funny. It was just, it cracked me up so much.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, no, I have a couple clients who are from Australia
Yes.
and they've taught me a few things.
Yeah.
But that's a new one.
The
So
slang that
cute.
we have, I'm like, how does this even, I don't even know. Brad has even taught me so much. Like there are certain like slang, I'm going on a tangent, but there are so many words that I've learned and phrases that I'm like, was I even born here? Like what does that even mean?
That's hilarious. Yeah, no. So, okay. Going back into, I love how you touched on progesterone and how
Mhm.
important it is. I did not know that, but
Yeah.
so okay, I'm like I said on this deep dive, okay, and so what
Mhm.
I'm doing is I'm using my intuition
Yes.
to go on like a deep dive into what is the cause of my irregular
Mm.
cycle.
Mhm.
And when I look in, I see, so I tested each hormone. So
Yeah.
estrogen, progesterone, LH and FSH,
Yes.
testosterone, prolactin, thyroid hormones, cortisol. I tested each one intuitively by
Yeah.
percentage of like which one is the highest contributing factor in my irregular cycle.
Mhm.
And I got the LH and FSH is 98% the contributing factor to my cycle. So I would absolutely love if you have any advice there or like what even exactly those are. I mean, I have it written down here, but like I would love to know your insight on it. And then
Yeah.
also before we go into that, the progesterone, like you mentioned, if we have high or low progesterone, that indicates whether or not we're going to have those, I guess, either more intense symptoms
Yeah.
or not. And so, is there an energetic root cause? I mean, I know there is, but what is it to having that high or low progesterone? And what can we be doing to make, or is it, does it differ for each person
Yeah.
to make sure that that stays at bay so that we can just because I mean, even that hormone I have here tested for me at 48%. So it's still a 48% contributing
Mm.
factor.
Mm. I love that you really have harnessed and connected your intuition to test out which one is really contributing. I think that's such a powerful force. And I think if more women actually lent into their intuition, we actually know the way. We don't really need to get blood works done, or like, yes, we do. That
Yeah.
helps to create data and everything like that, but we actually intuitively know what we need. And
Yeah.
so the thing and what I do with my clients is I go through each hormone. So if it's, and I go through the symptoms, I actually don't really go into the luteinizing hormone and follicular stimulating hormone, which is FSH and LH, because it's more the other symptoms that really contribute to the period problems and the period symptoms more so is what I have been finding. But that being said, LH and FSH have a significant impact into the brain and to
Hmm.
the ovary connection, into stimulating so many things to actually bring the physiology of ovulation coming into play. So that also could be an indicator that maybe you're going through an anovulatory cycle or an ovulatory cycle, which means
Yeah.
that you might not be ovulating at certain times of your period or certain times of the cycle, which can maybe contribute to excess estrogen, and then that leads to higher forms of estrogen. And even if your progesterone, like I was saying before, is normal, you can still feel the impacts of that. So maybe even just tuning into that, like, because everything like plays into it. There's also a little thing that I do want to say in what I do with my clients is I go through a kind of like system checklist, and it highlights high cortisol, low cortisol, because cortisol is what can also, it's called the pregnenolone still, which can steal from our progesterone stores if we are in cortisol stress, and it can be conscious or subconscious, as we know, that if we are stuck in that and don't really come to regulate our nervous system and really come back into the rest and digest, or into the dorsal kind of phase, which is like it's more the ventral. I keep getting confused with that. But like basically the rest and digest, where we really feel at peace and we really feel relaxed, that can be an indicator that progesterone can be stolen, for lack of a better word, and created into cortisol, because cortisol is needed to pump out because our body feels like we're in stress, or like
Yeah.
we're in just like that fight or flight, or even that freeze or that fawn. And
That's
so
what's sorry. Do
no
you want
no
to
no no
finish
no
your sentence? I was just
no
going to
no
say, like, that's what's that basically, I'm sure that that's what that sounds like what's been happening with me is like my progesterone has been stolen by my
yeah
cortisol, because I do know that like my stress levels just recently, I mean, I still just owning your own business is very stressful, can be very stressful, right?
yes
Like, um, eh, I, just my life, I've worked really hard to work on this, but like my fight or flight goes off very easily because
yeah
of the trauma and shit that I've been through. Um, so with that being said, this is like why I'm so passionate about diving deep into this. And like for
yeah
me, when I like look in like the energetic root cause of why I have an irregular period is because I feel like out of control. Like I can't create the things that I want to create when I want to
mm,
create them. Like if somebody was to tell me like go make $50,000 this month right now, which
mhm.
I can visualize myself doing, but like
Yeah
at the same time, there's a subconscious belief of like, I don't know enough and I'm not doing enough. So
mm,
that's creating the irregular period. It's creating the stress on my body and the weight on me
yes
that's physically like manifesting. It's like this whole like deep dive incredible situation we've got going on. But
yeah
love love that you are like going into this because it's hitting. It's amazing.
it's so important, and I love that you touched on that, because 100%, like, even losing your period or having an irregular cycle, it's tying into where are you actually not connected to your feminine essence and your feminine truth completely, but also like going even deeper, like you were saying, just being regulated and like having chaos around you, like becoming a mother now. Like Octavia's just turned 1, and I'm like, that was an intense portal and an intense shift into understanding and just like re-embodying another part of myself that no one really has a rule book on until you become it, until you
Mm.
become your own mother. And so like having a like I even pre-pregnancy, I thrived on routine and like having all of that. Now it's becoming rituals because I need flexibility in my life and I need that flow in my life. Previously to the 7 months postpartum, I would get really stressed if my morning routine didn't go to plan.
Mm.
After the shedding and deep surrender work that I really went to, which led me into birthing the glow method, which is now on my bio, now what I'm teaching and sharing with my clients, but also like coming into a deep rooted place of connecting to yourself, and like you were saying, just like owning your intuition into connecting your cycle with the rest of you, because it's an innate part with the rest of you, and creating that flow and that flexibility, and not having like cycle syncing being a big thing that you feel like you need to do in order to create the perfect period, but something that you connect pieces to and you create your own formula to, that helps you to feel like, okay, I've got my own cycle syncing version that really works for me, and your own little formula that really works for me. Like a lot of the things that I do, I don't love the whole cycle syncing and what that's become, because I feel like it's very regimented, and I feel like women have taken it far, the far end of the spectrum, where they feel like they need to do in order at certain phases of their cycle in order to feel like they're ticking off the box. But that's just becoming a wounded masculine, and just entering into that and feeling like, oh my God, if I don't do this, then I'm not going to have the perfect period. And then that just creates a very unhealthy cycle with your cycle.
Wait, I'm dying right now because, okay, first of all, Bryson just came in. I had to go get my rings resized and he came in and gave it back to me.
Oh
And
my
it
God, we
fits good.
love the fiance, the
Okay.
fiance ring.
I digress. So, but what I was gonna say is like I freaking love that you just said that, because I feel like since learning more and more about this, I'm like
Mhm.
stressing out. I'm like, oh, well, I can't lift weights on this day. First of all, I don't even know. I've realized like I got the Aura ring. So I've like,
Mm.
I'm hooked up to that. I'm doing natural cycles.
Yeah.
I'm like with the temperature, and like I'm
Yes.
really getting into like logging everything and being really good about that. With that being said, I feel like when I like that, what I thought was when I thought I was in my luteal phase, I wasn't. I was actually ovulating, and it
Mm.
was like
Hmm.
pushed back an
Yes.
entire week. And like today I started my period, and I felt like I was going to start my period for the last like 2 weeks.
Hmm.
It's just been like I've literally on day 50 of my cycle today,
Yeah.
which is so long. And I'm like, why is it like this? And then I'm also like, it's fucking up my like my workout regimen,
Yeah.
because I love to lift weights. I'm realizing that I it would be in my best interest for my body and that cortisol level that's probably
Mm.
spiking to not lift as heavy as I've been lifting. And also but like also there's like well, I can't lift weights on this phase of my cycle,
Yeah.
because so like can you go into
Yes,
that, like
I would
what the
love
fuck?
to. What the fuck do we do?
Yeah.
100%. And I love that you touched on it and asked this, because I think it now can be a beautiful permission slip to just lead with your body first. Cycle syncing has become a quote unquote formula that we feel like we need to check off in a rule book, but we and women do not follow, or people who bleed do not follow rule books. We don't, because our cycles are very intuitive. As a feminine women, we are very watery beings, and we know how to flow. So let ourselves flow. When you said about the ovulation piece, that you thought like that you were in your luteal phase, but you actually were ovulating. Ovulation, only 30% of women actually ovulate on day 14. We think we ovulate on day 14, but only 30% of women do. You can ovulate, there can be a range, right? You can be an early ovulator, you can be a late ovulator. It obviously will help if it's kind of like around the day 13 to day 18, 19 mark, so that you've got a good amount of the follicular phase in you, so you've got that energy and that surge and that enough time for the LH and FSH to really rise and do its thing, but then also a good amount of time for everything to just slow down and counteract the balance of estrogen rising and everything else rising to balance each other out. Now, if you had a very stressful month, for example, maybe you had a car accident on day 10 of your cycle, your body will intuitively know, okay, I've gone through a very stressful experience and quite traumatic accident. it's not safe for me to ovulate at this time.
Mm-hmm.
I might push ovulation back, right? So you might ovulate on day 23, and then it might push your luteal phase out, and you might have a longer cycle, or you might have a shorter luteal phase and bleed right on the same day. Like, it all depends. Your body naturally knows what it needs to do. Or you skip ovulation in that month because your body is like, it's not fucking safe for me to ovulate. It's not safe for me to mature, have an egg mature, and to quote unquote bring a baby into this world, because a full sign of health is you are fertile. Whether or not you want to fall pregnant, you want to be fertile, because that means you are living out optimally and living out in a thriving way. You are not just surviving. So when you feel like you're just kind of like you're running through the motions, or you're like up and down with your period and your symptoms and all of the stuff through the cycle, that's just surviving, and that's like below base level. You want to have a really good fucking solid period. That's your foundation, so that you can build up from there and really thrive.
Yeah.
So a little thing that I do for quote unquote cycle syncing is just kind of like bare minimum things. And I kind of like treat it as a bit more of a structure, and then just lead in with what I need. So a good way to think about it, let's do workouts, for example. On your period and in your luteal phase, just go lighter. You can still be a gym girly and lift in the gym, but just maybe give yourself more rest, maybe go a little bit lighter, and maybe even work out a little bit later during the day, or in the afternoon when you've eaten or after a good, decent meal. Like, just treat it like that. If you can't, that's okay. But just like work around with what you need. If you feel like, oh my God, it's really heavy today, I can't lift what I lifted last week, it's okay. Just take 2.5 kilos off, take 5 kilos off, take whatever you need off. And I'm sorry, I'm realizing that it might be pounds, not kilos. So
You're good.
do your transfers.
Yeah, it's fine. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But another good thing is, if you want to kind of like, if you're a hybrid kind of fitness girl, maybe you're doing more Pilates or more yoga during this time. In your period, maybe you're napping more, maybe you're sleeping in, maybe you're going for walks, maybe you're just going a little bit slower than you normally would in your follicular and ovulation phase. You're just very flexible with yourself. Doesn't mean you need to stop. I know that a lot of people have said, especially cycle syncing, you shouldn't be working out, or you shouldn't be doing this. Like, there are no shoulds. Like, fuck the shoulds. Like, we're not doing that. Like, just go with what you need. Because if gym is such a big passion of yours, why are you stopping that? If that brings such light and just like that kind of like physical release, keep going. But just notice the difference between, I am pumping iron to release stress, but that's causing more stress on your body. So it's kind of like that cycle. It's like HIIT. You don't want to be doing a lot of HIIT workouts, high intensity interval training workouts during all the phases of your cycle, because that's very, very stressful. I have seen a lot of women, like coming from a personal training background as well, a lot of women doing HIIT plateau, because I'm like, you're just stressing your body out, and you don't need to stress your body out. You can get have a more impactful transformational results, or whatever you want to call it, from actually working with your cycle and working with the workouts, and going a little bit slower and a little bit like less intense during your luteal and your period phase. A good way to just like ask yourself the question is this going to cause more stress on my body? Especially if you're in the healing part of like hormone healing, don't put more stress on your body. That's it. Plain and simple.
Gosh. Fucking gold. Thank you so much.
Doesn't mean you have to stop. But then also, like during your follicular phase and ovulation, that's the time to go hard. Like, especially in your ovulation, hit your PBs, go for goal, like push a little bit harder. But notice the difference between like pushing and slogging and killing yourself, because you're going to feel that in later periods and in later luteal phases. So that's workouts in a sense. For eating, just a good rule of thumb, prioritize warming foods, especially more so in your luteal and your period, because your womb needs warmth. It needs that life force energy, especially in traditional Chinese medicine. As women, we want the warmth so that it build the momentum for circulation and for flow and for everything else for your blood pumping, right? On a physiological sense, that's what we need, so that we have more creativity. We can speak with more ease. We've got ideas flowing through us because we have life flowing through us. So warm socks, warm pants, especially in winter, like rug yourself up. In summer, get out into the sun, like really prioritize getting that sunshine, and prioritize sunshine wherever you can. So that's a good rule of thumb. In your follicular and ovulation, you can have cooler foods, but just always spruce in a little bit of warmth, because it's very good for us as women.
Okay, amazing. I love all of this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
You mentioned like I know, okay, because I'm sitting here and I'm like trying to think of like what has happened in the last month that has my body in fight or flight that would
Mhm.
like make me either I didn't ovulate
Mhm.
or it pushed the ovulation back. So it's like
Mhm.
we our bodies, we've got this fight or flight and our body doesn't know the difference of, let's say it's not as drastic as getting in a car accident. Let's say
Yeah.
it's just like, yeah, I don't know, being late to work or like
Yeah.
something little, and our body doesn't know the difference between that and being chased by a fucking tiger. Like,
Yes.
what, like,
Yeah.
what do you have to say on that?
Yeah. There is so much that I can say on that. And it's honestly because we are, as a society, so overstimulated. One of the
Mm,
biggest things that I can suggest, a fantastic resource, is Becoming Her by Monica Yates. I just got the book and she is really all about this. And it's just a way to just see like how much we are bringing in to our field, our energetic field. What are we letting in? The
yeah,
people, the judgment, family events, people pleasing. Are we saying yes when we really want to say no? Are we constantly reactive to our phone? Do we have notifications on? What's the first thing that you're doing in the morning? What's the last thing that you're doing at night? Are you allowing time? Because, like you said, running a business is intense. Work has just become so much like more intense. A lot of my closest friends, they don't own a business, but really since like the start of this year, things have ramped up.
mm,
Like they're busy, they're working long hours. Like we're all just doing kind of the most, and we feel like we're kind of like catching up. But in the catching up energy, we don't allow ourselves to return to baseline and return to kind of like ground zero and really restore ourselves. So, to kind of like allude to the glow method as well, the
please.
biggest thing to do is to one, ground yourself in your feminine foundation. So a big thing that I've been doing is like, I really want to get like a sunrise clock, but at the moment I have like a little red light thing. Anyway, neither here nor there. I have my phone next to me. I pop it on airplane mode though, but it's a thing of like, I don't look at it because I'm committed to myself and I know what I'm going to be proud of myself for the day. And I know I'm more intentional with my time being a mother, that I'm like, I don't have time to scroll. Like it's not in my field. So some of the things that have really helped for me is, what am I unsubscribing to? Unsubscribing to Instagram people, unsubscribing to notifications coming through, like putting do not disturb on or putting my phone on airplane mode, like unapologetically. No, I am not
Mm-hmm.
available. No one can reach me. That's it. I know it's easier said than done with work, especially if you work for someone else, or if you have clients to call back to, or like voicemail, or whatever it is. But having set boundaries with yourself is the highest form of self love and the highest form of self respect. So
Yes. Preach.
understanding, yeah, and understanding and really being unapologetic with the boundaries that you actually want to set, and setting those kind of future self goals and future self little habits and rituals and things that she is doing, and getting so incredibly specific with it. Like, How is she doing her hair? What is she doing in her morning? Like, what are her bare minimum things that she's doing in the morning? And then adding other little rituals in your toolbox that you can just add in if you have more time, or if you want to flow, or if you want to do that more so. So for example, that helps you to just really ground in your feminine foundation, really getting clear on who you want to become, but then getting like starting from here, starting from scratch, and then just working your way up. But you need to have a solid foundation. That comes from hormonal harmony. That comes from energetic alignment. That comes from unlearning everything that you feel like you've been programmed to need to do, or have to do, or should do, and just releasing it, getting rid of it, and coming back to ground zero. I know it's easier. I'm going on a tangent. I know it's easier said than done when you've got work or commitments and whatnot. But again, coming back to the boundaries and coming back to being so committed to yourself and so committed to where you are going. So that's really the first step, really getting grounded in yourself, in who you are, in knowing yourself, and getting grounded in your hormones. That's the first sign, because if you don't have vitality and you don't have a clear and healthy period, you're just putting a band-aid over shit, because you're going to have to go backwards, and you're not living as optimally and thriving in the way that you could. You're kind of like going over here when your potential is way up here. So just thinking about it from that standpoint, and having little rituals that really help you to ground. It could be a tea. It could be scrolling Pinterest instead of another form of social media. It could be reading. It could be just sitting out in the sunshine and just being, no phones, barefoot in the grass, going to the ocean. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It can be, if anything, it's the small little things that you do within your moments that make it that much of a difference. Also, with that being said, healing everything, like I talked about, naturally regulates you. If you have, like you're saying, Mikaela, a very traumatic childhood, right? And a very traumatic upbringing, you going through your own journey of healing and coming back to alignment with yourself naturally regulates you, because maybe you've gone from freeze and then you've gone into fight or flight. You have to then go from freeze, fight or flight, and then come into your ventral state, which is just your rest and digest and completely being alignment, completely being regulated. But when you go through a like traumatic childhood, might I say, I did not go through a traumatic childhood, but I have gone through periods of my life where I've been in a freeze response. So you can go from regulated to fight or flight down to freeze. So then coming back up, you have to go through the numbing out and the disassociating and really starting to feel yourself and feel your emotions and quote unquote getting into the ugly side of you, quote unquote, to then come to the point of like alignment, peace, and just that washing over you. That's really a kind of like hierarchy of like how you would ground. But then in the moment, that's how you live out in a feminine embodiment way. So that's like grounded in a nutshell. I know I went on a tangent, but then
so good.
Thank you. But then to go into the rest of it, I'm not going to go as deep. Glow is grounded in feminine foundations, and then meeting yourself with L is luxury, like luxury health alignment, like luxury health, and just upgrading your health. So you're really getting into that next level to allow for the upgrades, to allow for things to shift, and to allow for, okay, I'm meeting myself at my next level. I'm meeting myself at my 10x self. So it becomes this normal. It doesn't become this thing of like, I'm reaching out for it. You're doing the habits, you're being in the rituals, you're really prioritizing practices and attitudes and behaviors and mindset and emotions that you really want to embody and you really want to have the capacity to hold in your next level. So for example, I am really like manifesting at the moment, like 6 figures in my business and creating a dream wedding, planning my dream wedding, my dream honeymoon, and moving to our dream house.
Wait, are you engaged too?
I am engaged. Before we had Octavia, we had our civil ceremony. So we are technically married, but I was pregnant And for me, it was just a very like, I wanted to do it to have the last name and to all be united before we really become a family. But and for me, now it's like, this is my dream wedding. So we've got the venue, everything is sorted. Like we're knee deep into planning. It's happening in November this year. And like past me, I'm like, holy shit, like how the F am I holding all of this? Like I'm a mother. I'm embodying the wife mentality and owning a business and running a business and growing it all while planning a freaking wedding. Like, how am I holding this? But going through this, like coming out of motherhood and coming out of my like going into the portal of motherhood has allowed me to just really birth this new method to allow me to hold and
Oh, yeah.
attract in more and receive it and really receive it. So that's the allowing that for the upgrades helps you to like just have the baseline in your kind of like ceiling and your kind of next level. And then we move into O, which is overflow through energetic expansion. And this is where we really call in more, attract more, but we can, and we feel like we can with certainty because we've done the first few steps with grounded and embracing our luxury, like embodiment kind of thing. After we really master energetic expansion from overflow, we have our cup is full and we are operating from outpouring and pouring out because we are just so excited to give because we are receiving equally and we are nourishing ourselves in a very balanced way. Then we can enter woman of wealth and worth because it's just who you are and it's just who you've become. And going into like all of it, it just is a very beautiful and a very connected way to become the woman that you want to be. But it is that blend of hormonal element with the energetic element, which I just am so incredibly passionate about.
Oh, amazing. So good. Thank you so much. That is such a beautiful method that you've created. And I love that you made every single letter mean something and have such a deep meaning to it. That's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Thank you.
Um, I know that I've had you for over an hour, and I know our episode went over, and then your episode
You
here
did?
went over. Love that for us. Obviously, like this was so aligned, and the conversation, like I didn't even get through like any of the questions that I had right now,
Yeah.
which is I knew that was going to happen. I was like, I'm just going to leave room for intuitive flow. It's going to be
Yeah.
perfect.
Yes.
Um, but such an incredible episode, and you guys, if you want to check out Tamra's podcast. I was just a guest on her podcast as
Mhm.
well. And I want to know, and I want you to share with my listeners, where do we find you? How do they work with you? All the things.
Oh my God. Thank you so much for having me. This was, again, like you said, epic conversation for both sides today. Like we went well and truly over time. And I love that we did because it was clearly all the topics that we needed to talk about. So thank you so much for having me on. But where you can find me, I hang out the most on Instagram at Tamra Santucci _. I'm also on TikTok. I have my podcast, Get Comfortable Being Uncomfortable. I am starting to get onto YouTube, which is very exciting, and just feel more behind the scenes, the wedding planning, the vlogs, and like how I am embodying that kind of glow up for myself because I feel like I'm well and truly in it. Like I haven't mastered the glow and haven't mastered that, but it's about embodying it. And it's been really beautiful to just show kind of the diary entry of it because I've seen a lot of people kind of talk about their journey after they've become it, but I really want to show you the behind the scenes as I'm going through it. And I feel like I've been seeing a lot more of people showcase the real and raw behind the scenes, which I think
Yes, we want that.
we are all craving it 100%. My website and all the ways to work with me are tamrasantucci.com.au. I do have a very new offering coming out and launching very soon, which is called Glow Core, which will be the complete foundations to glow and to really harnessing all of the things that we spoke about today, but in a very embodied way and in a way that really works for you. It's kind of that structure, but like I've said, this whole episode, it's about you being the CEO of your own life so that you can have it all and glow in it all. So if you're
Oh,
excited for that,
amazing.
message me, ask me any questions. I would love to connect with you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Tamara. This was such an incredible episode. I am going to re-listen and take all the notes because I feel like I wanted to take notes and I was like, I can't take notes right now. I have to pay attention to what she's saying. But I'm looking forward to continue to learn more from you. Maybe we can do a part two, like you were wanting a part two with
Yes,
me.
actually.
I don't know, but so incredible having you on. You guys, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here. As always, sending so much freaking love to you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a listener. And as always, we will chat soon. Bye.
Bye.